أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا عقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله ورسوله ما بعد. We thank the Almighty Allah for giving us an opportunity to be here. We thank Him for His mercies that He's bestowed upon us. We bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty Allah. We also bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and His messenger. Today is a Saturday, the 24th day of Ramadan, 1444 years after the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I believe it also corresponds with the 15th day of April 2023. Alhamdulillah. The last surah we spoke about Surah Al-Kawthar, and we spoke about the virtues of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in that when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam lost his sons at a younger age, the kuffar of Makkah were like, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has nobody to continue his lineage. But then if you look at who the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is, he doesn't need any son to continue his lineage, because every day, at least 10 times in a day, the muadhin says, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, blaring it out on loudspeakers across the world. Nobody has their names mentioned like that in the world. If you know of anybody whose name is mentioned by billions in the world every day, just let us know who that person is. It's only Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is the only one. So Surah Al-Kawthar, in as much as is arguably the shortest surah in the Quran, it holds in it a lot of lessons. And part of the lessons is that we must do things solely and purposely for the Almighty Allah alone. That is where He told us, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ, that pray to your Lord and then slaughter for Him and Him alone. Meaning every form of ibadah that you're going to engage in, you must make sure you do it for the sake of the Almighty Allah alone. Because all the mercies that you enjoy is from the Almighty Allah. And definitely entering Jannah is by the will of the Almighty Allah. So any form of ibadah that you're going to engage yourself in, try as much as possible to do it for the Almighty Allah and the Almighty Allah alone. Inshallah, today we are going to look at Surah Al-Ma'un, and Shaykh Faddal.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
نعم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As usual, we're going to look at the names of the surah as we always go by. We all know the name of the surah being Surah Al-Ma'un. And Al-Ma'un means something that we all need in our day-to-day activities. وَيُطْلَقْ عَلَى الْإِعَانَةِ بِالْمَالِ. It also means, help with money. So Al-Ma'un is something that we all need. The rich, the poor can never do away with. That is the meaning of Al-Ma'un. When we come to explain the verse, we really understand the position of Al-Ma'un. So we have this as the name of the surah, Al-Ma'un. That is written, in the Suhuf that we have, and then you have it in the Kutub al-Tafsir. So this is the name At-Tawqifi. But then Al-Asma' al-Ijtihadiyya, the names that the scholars, have investigated and out of their own ingenuities have given the surah the name. We have Surah to Ara'aita. The surah begins Ara'aita, so you call it Surah to Ara'aita. Or sometimes Surah to Ara'aita alladhi yukadhibu. So the surah goes by that. And some of the surahs in the Quran, especially the ones, the smaller ones that we are dealing with, is you hear Surah Qul Huwa Allah, you hear Surah Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, Surah Idha Ja'a Nasrullahi wal Fath, which makes it easy for people to remember. So we have Surah to Deen. Don't forget when we're treating Fatiha, we said Malik Yawmiddin, and the Deen here doesn't mean the Deen as you know in religion, no. It means reward. So the chapter of reward. We'll come and see why it is called the chapter of reward. And then Surah Tul Yatim, the chapter of the orphan, because Yatim, the orphans, are also mentioned in this surah. And then we have Surah Tul Takdhib, the surah of denial, people lying, denying. We'll see why it is called that. The scholars, majority of them say this surah is a Meccan surah. It was revealed in Mecca. This is, reported from Abdullah ibn Abbas. And Imam al-Qurtubi narrates from Qatada that this is a Medina surah, which is also narrated by Ibn Abbas. So some of them say it's a Mecca surah, some of them say it is a Medina surah. But Imam al-Suyuti says the first 3 verses of the surah were revealed in Mecca, and the last 3 verses of the surah were revealed in Medina. And I think this is, one of the strongest opinion, that part of the surah was revealed in Mecca and then part of the surah was revealed in Medina. Now don't be surprised about that. When we say, let's just chat something on Ulum al-Quran. When we say a surah is a Meccan surah or a surah is a Medina surah, the scholars have had, different interpretations for that. Some of them said any surah that was revealed in Mecca is a Meccan surah, and any surah that was revealed in Medina is a Medina surah. This is one of the interpretations. Another interpretation is that any surah that was revealed before Hijrah, before the Prophet Muhammad left Mecca to go to Medina, irrespective of where the surah was revealed, so long as it was revealed before Hijrah, that surah is a Meccan surah. Astaghfirullah, it's a Meccan surah. And any surah that was revealed after the Prophet Muhammad migrated to Medina, irrespective of where the surah was revealed, so long as it was revealed after the migration, that surah is a Medina surah. So for example, you take this verse, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-Islam Medina. This verse is in Surah Al-Ma'idah, and Surah Al-Ma'idah is surah, even though it's a Medina verse, the verse was the surah is Medina surah, Surah Al-Ma'idah. But this verse, it was revealed in Mecca on Arafah. So sometimes you find some of the verses are like that. The surah is a Medina surah, but then some of the verses are revealed in Mecca. So we go with the second opinion, which is stronger, that any verse that was revealed before the Prophet Muhammad migrated from Mecca to Medina, irrespective of where the verse was revealed, so long as the time of revelation of the verse is before the Prophet moved from Mecca to Medina, that verse or that surah is a what? Is a Meccan surah. And any verse or any surah that was revealed after the Prophet had moved from Mecca to Medina, that surah or that verse is what? Is a Medina surah. That makes it very easy for us. And then to understand one thing, the revelation of the Quran was in bits. It is not in one book straightforward. It was one book from Lawh al-Mahfuz to Sama' al-Dunya. One whole book. On the night of Laylatul Qadr, the Almighty Allah made them to move it from Lawh al-Mahfuz to what? To the first heavens. And then it was revealed bit by bit to the Prophet Muhammad depending on the situations and conditions and affairs and circumstances. Then the Almighty Allah will reveal a particular verse, answering a question or bringing in a new legislation or scraping an old legislation and bringing a new legislation. That's how the Almighty Allah revealed the verses. So if you hear that some of the scholars say it is a Makkah verse, some say it's a Medina verse, it's because of the difference of opinion concerning when we say a verse is a Makkah verse, what do we mean? When we say a verse is a Medina verse, what do we mean? It doesn't mean there's contradiction in the Quran. So Some of the scholars are saying that part of the surah was revealed in Mecca and part of it was revealed in Medina. Okay, why did Almighty Allah reveal the verse, the surah? Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma says in Asbab al-Nuzul by Al-Wahidi, he says this surah was revealed concerning Al-As ibn Wa'il as-Sahmi. But then As-Suddi says it was revealed concerning Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, the father of Khalid ibn al-Walid. It is also reported that this verse was revealed because of Abu Jahl. And the reason being, one of these three men was made a guardian of an orphan. So someone died and then he left kids, children. And then this guy was given, the trust of taking care of that orphan. فَجَاءَهُ عُرْيَانًا يَسْأَلُهُ مِنْ مَالِ نَفْسِهِ. And then this orphan came naked because he didn't have any money to buy any clothes. This man has hijacked all the money. He came asking him that you can see the state that I'm in. My father died and then he left, this amount of money. I need some of my money to buy clothes or to buy food. فَدَفَعَهُ. And then he sacked him. He drove him away. وقال ابن جريج says نزلت في أبي سفيان. It was revealed concerning Abu Sufyan. This was before Abu Sufyan became a Muslim. وكان ينحر في كل أسبوع جزورا. Abu Sufyan was very wealthy that every week he slaughtered camels. فأتاه يتيم فسأله شيء. An orphan came and he said, give me something from the food that you slaughter. فقرعه بعصاه. He beat him with his stick. فأنزل الله تعالى هذه السورة. And then the Almighty Allah revealed this surah. So this surah is speaking to us about concerning taking care of orphans and taking care of people who are weak in the community. Sheikh, let's go with the first verse. أرأيت.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
نعم.
أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين.
Now Almighty Allah is asking, أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين. Have you seen or do you know the person who, denies a deen? A deen here is the day of Qiyamah. The Almighty Allah is drawing our attention to people who belie the day of Qiyamah. People who have lived their lives, just as, a passing fantasy, and they don't want to believe that there's going to be a day of Qiyamah. وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة. Someone came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with a dry bone, and then he told Muhammad, you see this bone? He crushed the bone and then he blew it away, powder, and then he told Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do you think your Lord will be able to resurrect this bone? And Almighty Allah told us in Surah Yasin, وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقًا. He has come giving Allah an example. And then he forgot his creation. He forgot how the Almighty Allah created him. قَالَ مَنْ يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ. He was asking, who is going to resurrect a bone after this bone has been crushed into powder? And Almighty Allah said, قُلْ, Prophet, tell him, يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنْشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. The one who created her in the beginning is the one who will be able to bring back the bone alive. So the resurrection is a fact. But then people, it is a natural thing, whether you like it or not. وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُم. They are denying that there's going to be a resurrection, but then their souls really believe that there's going to be a day of resurrection. Because no matter how atheistic you are, no matter agnostic you are, that you don't believe in any God, anything, a calamity happen, what do they say? Oh my God. That is the natural disposition. That's the natural disposition. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God. That's the natural disposition. Your heart and your soul believes that there is a God. But then the orientation that you have, or the society that you grew up in, or your thought processes make you think that there is no God. And one of the other things is that the people who have that at the back of their minds, they don't want to be held accountable. And that's a fact. They want to run away from the truth. They don't want to be held accountable because of their deeds. One of the, logical reasons to prove that there is going to be a day of resurrection, a day of punishment, a day of reward, is that number one, you will find some people in this world who are very, very powerful. They've committed all forms of crimes, but nobody can prosecute them. True or false? True. Now, if those people die and then go scot-free, has justice been done? Justice has not been done. So definitely, there is someone who is super and powerful and superior who will bring everybody to book.
أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين.
Isn't Allah the most just of judges? Definitely. Because some people are dictators. They've killed people, they've maimed people, they've snatched people's properties, they've done all forms of wrong. And at the end of the day, they will formulate laws in the constitution to protect them. You know, if you're a former president, you cannot be prosecuted. In some countries, you cannot be prosecuted. And the person has charges against him of war crimes. He cannot travel to Europe or America because they are going to arrest him. And other people, and some of them too, they might not be politicians, but they are day-to-day people, just average Joes who are criminals. They are mafia people, they are gangsters. Even the police do not want even to cross paths with them. When they die, they go scot-free? No. There is going to be a day of resurrection. There's going to be a day where we are all going to answer for the deeds that we came to do in the dunya. In khayran fa khayran, in sharran fa sharran. If you do good, you're going to say it. If you do wrong, you're going to say it. That is the position of Muslims and Islam. So that is why, as a Muslim, if someone cheats you, if someone defrauds you, and you don't have any power to fight and defend yourself, don't forget, the owner of upstairs is there. لا تظلمن إذا ما كنت مقتدرا فالظلم ترجو عقباه إلى الندم تنام عيناك والمظلوم منتبه يدعو عليك وعين الله لن تنمي لا تظلمن إذا ما كنت مقتدرا. Do not oppress people when you have the power. فالظلم يرجع عقباه إلى الندم, because oppression, its end result is disastrous. تنام عيناك, your eyes are asleep. وَالْمَظْلُومُ مُنْتَبِهٌ, but the one that you cheated is awake at night because you've stolen his money or you've snatched something from him. وَعَيْنُ اللَّهِ لَنْ تَنَمِ. Understand one thing, the eyes of the Almighty Allah do not sleep. So do not oppress anybody, because you will pay the price in the dunya and the akhirah. Understand it very, very well, because as we explained the last time, there are some sins that are two-dimensional. They are between you and the Almighty Allah and between you and the human being. And there are sins that are only horizontal or no, vertical, between you and Allah alone. So if you go and drink alcohol, it's between you and Allah alone. But then if you snatch someone's money or you hurt someone, first and foremost, it is between you and the person, and then between you and Almighty Allah. Even if you do istighfar and the Almighty Allah forgives you, the person's haqq, the person's right, is also still there. So for example, in the case of murder, when someone kills someone, it is three-dimensional. It is a case between you and the Almighty Allah, because Al-Adamiyu Bunyanur Rabb, the son of Adam, the human being, is the creation, is the building of the Almighty Allah. Mal'unun man hadama. Whoever destroys the creation of the Almighty Allah is cursed. So you have a case with Almighty Allah. That's number one. Number two, you have a case with the family members of the person. Because he might be the captain or the star of the family. He is the breadwinner of the family. And then you kill him, you've hurt them. He is someone that they rely upon. And then thirdly, you and the person. So even if the family forgive you and say, okay, we forgive you, you will not take any blood money, you have to contend with Almighty Allah. And even if the Almighty Allah forgives you, you'd have to wait for the day of Qiyamah for the person to forgive you, because you can't go to the grave and say, I know I killed you, forgive me. He's not going to answer. You'd have to wait on the day of Qiyamah. So there is going to be recompense. So if you kill someone in this dunya, and then you have a very good lawyer, and then they twist the story, and then the judges, acquit you and say, no, he was temporarily mad. Sometimes they have this term. He is temporarily mad. And they'll say, okay, fine. When we look through, the cases, and then they bring a psychiatrist who come and say, yes, there was a lot of adrenaline in his brain, and then the hormonal exchanges, and then they'll bring all kinds of terms to confuse us. And then the judge will say, yes, looking at the evidences, yes, he shot the person, but then he was unstable at that time because he has family issues, he has these issues and stuff like that. And then these are all contributing factors. On the day of Qiyamah, there is no contributing factor. And these are some of the things that they use. If a Muslim goes and then he blows up a place, he's a Muslim terrorist. But if a non-Muslim goes and then he blows somewhere, he is a lone ranger. His religion doesn't come in. The color of his skin doesn't come in. Don't worry. Inna rabbaka labil mirsad. There's a day of Qiyamah where all of us will go and sit in front of the Almighty Allah. Whatever good you do, you're going to be rewarded. Whatever bad you do, you're going to be rewarded. Check. Let's go to the next verse.
فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم.
After the Almighty Allah has asked the question, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ, have you seen or do you know the person who denies the deen, the reward? Now the Almighty Allah wants to tell us who is that person. What are his characteristics? He said, فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي, that is that person, يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ, who smacks the orphan. He beats the orphan. Islam has a social contract with all of us. We are not islands. And Islam is a communal religion. And Islam has a lot of social interventions. Because the Almighty Allah knows that there is discrepancy between us in the life that we lead. And it's how the Almighty Allah has placed it. As I always say, our 5 fingers, you see, they are not equal. Each of these fingers has a role to play. In Salah, you push this one forward. You don't use this one. Nor that you use this one. You use this one. Even in pointing, you point with this one. If you come to write, unless I see some people who can hold a pen like this and write. But normally, everybody does this. What? With the index finger and then the thumb. If you're going to tie something, without the thumb, you'll not be able to tie it. So there's a reason why all these, fingers are not equal. So in society, that's how we are. Some people will grow old and see their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. Some people will lose their fathers when they are in the womb. Some people will lose their fathers at a tender age. Some people will have the fathers, but the fathers will be incapacitated to take care of them. The father is alive, but then he might be terminally ill. He might be sick. Some people might have the fathers are not terminally ill, but then issues of the pocket is an issue for them. So that's how the society is built. And then it is just. Because if you don't have a farmer, you will not eat. So if all of us cannot be business executives, all of us cannot be medical doctors. Some of us will be taxi drivers. Some of us will be bricklayers. Some of us will be imams. Some of us will be security officers. Some of us will be businessmen. Some of us will be Will be millionaires and billionaires. Let's even use this message as an example. We come and sit and then we read the Quran, right? Yes. There are some brothers who have sacrificed their time to be outside there taking care of the cars and then the security, right? There are some who have taken care of the administration of the Masjid. There are some who make sure that we have toilet roll and soap in the washing room. True of us. We have some who make sure that after iftar, the trash is collected. We have some who make sure that they give their thousands and 2,000s and 5,000s. All of us have a role to play. That is how the Almighty Allah has distributed the community. When we understand this, we value everybody's contribution. And that makes us a strong community. So people like Abu Bakr and Uthman will bring their millions to support the deen. Umar will bring his boisterous nature. Ali will bring his intellect. Mu'adh ibn Jabal will bring his intellect. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib will bring his diplomacy skills. Mus'ab ibn Umair will bring his diplomacy skills. Khalid ibn Walid will bring his war, the war strategies. The moment you feel you are more important than the other person, that is when you've lost the whole idea behind this mechanism, this system that the Almighty Allah has put in place. Each and everyone is important. You might have an important job to do. Someone would say that, no, the imam's job is the most important job. Fine. The one who is taking care of the toilet, if he doesn't put in the toilet roll and then, the soap and then the stuff, what happens to us? Nobody will come here. We'll all run away because of what? The bad smell. So each and every one of us is important in his what? In his role of functioning. That's how communities develop. Each and every one of us is important in his role of functioning. When you excel in your role, that is where you are important, because it's a collective thing. May Almighty Allah safeguard us. So Islam has this, this idea of the community will have people who are not strong, people who are not well-to-do, people who need help. And the number one vulnerable in the community are what? The orphans. They are the number one vulnerable. So a lot of young kids that you are with us in the Masjid here, if you have your parents who are alive and then they are taking care of your needs, you need to do sujood shukr every day. You need to prostrate and thank the Almighty Allah for that. Because there are some kids who do not have a place to sleep because they have no parents. Their parents are dead. There are some people, some kids, who the parents are alive, but they are the ones who need to go and fend for the family to come and what? Take care of their parents. So if you have your parents buying you all these Gucci stuff, all these nice phones, and then you sleep in air-conditioned homes. Yesterday, I was with the sheikh, and then he was calling back home, and then there was light out. No lights. And he's like, you people, you are still in this light house. You're still in this lights out. He said, America, I've forgotten that there's even lights out. You are here, you have constant electricity. You have constant flow of water. You have, even in the washroom, you have hot and cold water. The one you choose, the one that you want. We don't have that liberty. We didn't grow up with that liberty. You'll have to go to the stream, 3, 4, 5 kilometers, and fetch water and then come. And then you boil the water. Sometimes you fetch the water and then you see things in the water. You see things. You see worms in the water. You'll have to boil the water and then you sieve the water and then you bath. And sometimes this water, you go to the stream and then there are cows drinking from the water. There are donkeys drinking from the water. And you'll have to fetch from that water, come and boil it, add some chemicals, and then you drink it. So if you grow up in this part of the world, Allah is a ni'mah from the Almighty Allah, and then you have your parents. You enjoy, they pay your fees for your schools, they buy you school stuff, they buy you clothes, they buy you all these things. Wallahi, if you raise your voice over your parents, you are preparing yourself for disaster in life. I'm not cursing you, no. And I'm not bad-mouthing you. That's not what I'm doing. I'm only trying to bring to your eyes the importance of your parents in your life. It's very, very important. So the orphans are a very, very important member of the community. So Shaykhana in Surah Al-Duha, the Almighty Allah said, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ
فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ.
The Almighty Allah said, O Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not oppress the orphan. Do not oppress the orphan. And how does the oppression of the orphan comes? Surah Al-Isra, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ
وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّهُ وَأَوْفُوا بِالْعَهْدِ إِنَّ الْعَهْدَ كَانَ مَسْئُولًا.
وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ. Do not go near the money of the orphan. Don't go near it. إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Except what is the best for the money. Not best for you. Some people, their elder brothers or their younger brothers are in America. They've lived, they've worked, they've toiled. So they build properties back home. They build homes. They have farms. They have cows. They have all this. And then the brother dies here in America. And then he now becomes the elder of the family. Kokoti. He is there. He takes charge of everything. Every day he will slaughter one goat to chew. He alone, he and his wife and his kids. And then the kid of his elder brother who had suffered to make all those money in the coldness of winter. Even this year we didn't have any severe winter. But sometimes you come out there and then your hands are vibrating. And then people will go through all this difficulty. And then they'll send home money for their house to be built, for their homes to be built. And then you are just taking the money and then you are squandering it. And then he spends 30 years here, 40 years here. He wants to go back home and then go and retire. He goes back, there is no home. You've squandered all the money. And then you don't want the day of Qiyamah to come. Because of those people, the Almighty Allah must make the day of Qiyamah come. Because sometimes he's your close brother, you can't do anything to him. One mother, I know of a brother who went to Europe, lived for almost 30 years. His own blood brothers. He sends them money to build a house for him. They squandered the money. Now, he decided that the boys or the men, they are very, 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 very serious. They will squander the money. So he looked at the sister. Women, they are very soft. She was even more dangerous than the men. Now, he consulted his best friend. He bought machines so that he would set up a business. The friend sold all the machines. He gave him money to buy a plot of land for him to start building. He bought the land and then he put his name on the documents. All these things will happen and you don't want the day of Qiyamah to come. Definitely the day of Qiyamah will come. So someone has lived his life. He has left behind monies. And then he dies. He leaves behind a wife and kids. And then they say, you are a very respectable person. So they've taken the property, the trust, and they've given it to you. Hold it in earnest. And you say, oh, fine, Allah, I'll take care of it. My brother died. Oh, my brother, when we were kids that were growing up, he was a very nice man. Oh, subhanallah, inallah. Oh, Muhammad is dead. Muhammad is dead. And then we said, Kai, this guy is very emotional. He's a very nice person. And then we gave you the properties for you to take care of them. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ. Don't touch that money. إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Except what is best for the money. So you can invest the money so that the money will not depreciate. So if they give you that amount of money, you are allowed to invest the money so that the money will not depreciate. And anytime you are giving any money for the orphan, for safekeeping of the orphan, make sure you bring evidences and make sure you bring witnesses. Hajj Lamin, Chief Musa, please, I've been given the property of so and so and so to keep. It was given to me today, Ramadan 24th, 1444. It corresponds with 15th of April 2023. I was given so and so money, cash. This is the amount of money in the bank. This is the properties that he had. This is so, this is so, this is so, this is so. Now, me, I'm a poor person. And I'll have to manage all these assets. So let's agree. How much money will I be paid every month for managing those assets? You are allowed to do that. Okay, you are going to be paid $1,000 every month. That is what you earn. Or, okay, fine. Let's do it a partnership. They have the wealth. I'm going to use my energy. So it's a partnership. Okay, I'm contributing 20% in the business. The capital or the money is 80%. My energy is 20%. So whatever profit that we make in a year, I get 20% of that. Make sure everything is written. If that agreement is made, you don't have any excuse to pick $1 or 1 cent in their money. This is one of the shortest way of going to Jannah, and it's also one of the shortest way of going to Jahannam. Your relationship with an orphan. Shaykhana, Surah An-Nisa. وَلْيَخْشَى الَّذِينَ
وَلْيَخْشَى الَّذِينَ لَوْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّةً ضِعَافًا خَافُوا عَلَيْهِمْ فَلْيَتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَلْيَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا.
إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ
أموال اليتامى ظلما إنما يأكلون في بطونهم نارا وسيصلون سعيرا.
The Almighty Allah has given us a warning here. وَلْيَخْشَى الَّذِينَ لَوْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ. If you are afraid that when you leave behind orphans, weak family members. If you are afraid that people will what? Will destroy them. People will not take care of them. People will squander the properties that you leave behind them. خَافُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. You are scared of that. فَلْيَتَّقُوا اللَّهِ. When you are alive, fear the Almighty Allah. If you are alive now and you have young kids and then you are concerned about their future when you die and then you are going to leave behind properties and you are scared that maybe someone is going to squander all those properties, if you want the Almighty Allah to protect them, فَلْيَتَّقُوا اللَّهِ. You should start fearing the Almighty Allah. وَلْيَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. And when you are going to speak, speak that is right. And then Almighty Allah comes. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى ظُلْمًا. Those who squander the monies of orphans, إِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُونَ فِي بُطُونِهِمْ نَارًا. Understand, you are eating fire. When you consume the monies of orphans unjustly, you are eating fire. وَسَيَصْلَوْنَ سَعِيرًا. And then definitely you are going to enter the hellfire called Sa'ir. So the money of the orphan is a no-go area. It's a red line. Don't cross it. So let's say you are a poor person, and then they bring you the money of the orphans. The Almighty Allah says, وَابْتَلُوا الْيَتَامَى.
وابتلوا اليتامى حتى إذا بلغوا النكاح فإن آنستم منهم رشدا فادفعوا إليهم أموالهم
نعم.
ولا تأكلوها إسرافا وبدارا أن يكبروا
نعم.
فمن كان غنيا فليستعفف ومن كان فقيرا فليأكل بالمعروف
نعم.
فإذا دفعتم إليهم أموالهم فأشهدوا عليهم
نعم.
وكفى بالله حسيبا.
When the orphan is given to you for you to take care of them, the orphans, their father is your younger brother or your elder brother, or their father is just your friend or your cousin or whatever, and then you are giving those, properties to take care of them. You take care of them, and then it says, وَابْتَلُوا الْيَتَامَى. Now test the orphans. حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغُوا النِّكَاحِ. When they get to the rightful age of marriage. فَإِنْ آنَسْتُم مِّنْهُمْ رُشْدًا. When you feel that they are now, of sense, they are now matured, they can take care of their properties, فَدِفَعُوا إِلَيْهِمْ أَمْوَالَهُم. Look at the word that Almighty Allah said. He didn't say فَأْتُوهُم. He said فَدِفَعُوا. It's like, hey, give it to them and free yourself. Ad-dafr. Give it to them. Just collect everything. It's as if you had a problem on your neck. Now you are taking it away and giving it to them. That's how the property of an orphan is to you. It's like a thorn in your neck. You don't be free. You are not free until you give it out. فَدِفَعُوا إِلَيْهِمْ أَمْوَالَهُمْ وَلَا تَأْكُلُوهَا إِسْرَافًا وَبِدَارًا أَنْ يَكْبَرُوا. Do not consume their monies in extravagance. حَتَّى يَكْبَرُوا بِدَارًا أَنْ يَكْبَرُوا. Until they are old enough. Now look at this. وَمَنْ كَانَ غَنِيًّا فَلْيَسْتَعْفِفْ. If you are already rich, you don't need the orphan's money. You're already rich. وَمَنْ كَانَ فَقِيرًا فَلْيَأْكُلْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. But if you are a poor person, then consume the money with what? With truth. That is why I said in the previous ayah, that is, if you are a poor person, and then the monies of the orphan is given to you, you need to what? Invest those monies into businesses. Then you employ yourself, and then you pay yourself the right wages. Do not overpay yourself. Pay yourself the right wages, because you are a trustee of the money of the poor person or the orphan. وَمَنْ كَانَ فَقِيرًا فَلْيَأْكُلْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ فَإِذَا دَفَعْتُمْ إِلَيْهِمْ أَمْوَالَهُمْ. When you give them their monies back to them, فَأَشْهِدُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. Look for witnesses for that. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ حَسِيبًا. The Almighty Allah is enough as a judge on that. This verse teaches us the importance of taking care of orphans. Imam al-Tirmidhi narrates to us a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he said, "Ana wa kafil al-yatimi fil jannati kahataini." The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "I and the person who takes care of orphans are like this in Jannah." Use his what? His sababa in wusta. This is a sababa, the index finger, and then the middle finger. That's how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. There is also Imam Bukhari narrates a hadith that is also narrated by Imam Muslim and Imam Malik and Abu Dawood and Imam Ahmad. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man wada'a yadahu ala ra'si yatimin rahmatan." Anybody who places his hands on the head of an orphan, having mercy for him, كتب الله له بكل شعرة مرت على يده حسنة. Any hair of the head of the orphan that you touch, the Almighty Allah is going to give you a reward for that. This hadith doesn't mean you go about touching the heads of orphans. That's not what it means. It means taking care of orphans. Some people, when they hear this hadith, they are looking for orphans to just be rubbing their head. No. That's not what it means. If you touch his head, you give him $50. That's what it means. You take care of the orphan. You bring him into your house with your sons, if it is a boy. You put him with your daughters, if she's a girl. You don't mix them up. You treat them as you're treating your own kids in terms of the nurturing, because you don't know why or how the Almighty Allah is going to bless you. You don't know. Maybe this orphan is the keys of the doors of your goodness in this dunya and the akhirah. You don't know. You don't know. A lot of people have gained a lot of trust with the Almighty Allah and a lot of wealth because they take care of orphans. And I know a lot of us here, send back money, to parts of the world to take care of orphans. Wallahi, don't relent. Always continue doing so. And then be patient with these orphans. It is not easy. So sometimes I believe that even it's a controversial statement. I'm going to make it. You know me, I make controversial statements. I don't believe in having orphanages. I don't believe in having orphanages. I believe in integrating those orphans into our families. If we can, put them with your kids. Let them feel the presence of a father and a mother in their house. But if they are in the orphanages, they might not get that. They will get the food, they will get the clothes, they will get all of that. But then the presence and the significance of having a father or a mother is lost. I'm not saying orphanages are wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Allah is a good idea. Because you cannot have 10 kids in your house. No, you can't. So orphanages are a good idea. But if you have the opportunity, you have a big house where you can have 2 orphans, 3 orphans, let them grow up with your kids. Because I know of a man whose kids abandoned him, but the orphans that he took care of are the ones who are taking care of him now.
Allah Akbar.
He puts them in his house. They grew up in his house. He paid their fees. He took care of them. His kids now do not have time for him. But these orphans, they are the ones who take care of him. They are the ones who take care of him. So if you can, put them in your house and nurture them. Let them have the feel of having a father. Let them have the feel of having a mother. You cannot replace their parents 100%, but you can do something. You can do something. But then if you can't do that, and people have orphanages, and you can donate, wallahi, donate. I'm not discouraging you from that. I'm not saying it's wrong. No. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong at all on that. I feel, and I'm not giving you a fatwa. I'm not saying this is the Quran or Sunnah. I'm giving you my personal opinion that if I have that opportunity, I'll put an orphan in my house, not send him to an orphanage. But then everybody has the power and the capabilities of what they can do and what they cannot do. But then the orphanage is also a very good idea where you can send your monies to. If you cannot have direct, contact with the orphan, and someone has put in place an orphanage, send your monies there. Donate, help, put your monies there. And I personally, I find it very difficult going to orphanages. My heart cannot stand it. The last time I went to an orphanage was in Niger, in Niamey. It was an orphanage for only girls. one of my friends who we studied together in the university was the director of the orphanage. And when we entered there, I had to go back and sit in the car because young girls, 3-year-old, 2-year-olds, no mommy, no daddy.
Oh.
And there is this Arab organization that has built, an orphanage, full complex, school in there, a clinic in there, with dormitories, everything in there. A very huge place. They've built it walled with security. And they have teachers there for both Islamic and then French studies. They are there. And that, my friend of mine, is the director of the place. So, this is one of the ways that, wallah, you can build your akhirah. Putting your money in supporting, orphans and orphanages. So I made a controversial statement, but that doesn't mean that you cannot help or you cannot establish orphans. I'm only giving you orphanage. I'm only giving you my personal opinion, which I believe is the best. Allah Alam. And then check the next verse.
ولا يحض على طعام المسكين.
Apart from the fact that he maltreats the orphan, the guy who doesn't believe in the day of Qiyamah, the person who doesn't believe there's going to be reward, apart from the fact that he maltreats orphans, he doesn't recommend the feeding of the poor people too. People who are poor. Especially, we're in the month of Ramadan. In the next couple of days, there's going to be Eid and there's going to be what? Zakat al-Fitr. Don't forget to what? To give out your Zakat al-Fitr. It's very, very important. The poor people, they might not have food on the day of Eid to eat. You have in abundance. Don't forget them. Earlier at Zuhur, Sheikh Akil was speaking about 7 pounds of food for each individual. And I think my uncle, Sheikh Lamin, is here. The last building, that is where we are collecting, the Zakat al-Fitr. And we mostly take, food. And we don't want perishable foods. Don't bring, because we're going to pack them before we sort them out. So if you bring, fresh food, vegetables, fruits, they're going to get rotten before we even distribute to them. But then if they are packed, cans, and don't bring frozen foods because we might not have the refrigerators, to pack them here. If you bring frozen foods, they might get rotten, they might get spoiled. So bring food that, they can stay for a while, maybe 6 months and stuff like that, because the idea behind our Zakat al-Fitr too is not only for that one day. At least the person can get food for the next couple of months that they can eat. It's not easy for some people. It's not easy getting to go and get those food. So feed the poor, not only in Zakat al-Fitr, but outside the year. If you know there is someone, if you know there is a brother in the masjid that he has a huge family, and then the bills are very difficult for him, out of your own volition, secretly between you and Almighty Allah, he might not even know. Just get a bag of rice, some sugar, something. Just get $100 from your money. Go shopping for the person. And then at night, come and knock his door and then leave it and then you run away. Because some people, they need it. But it is very difficult for them to ask. They need it. But then it is not part of, their nature to come and say, Sheikh, it's difficult. Help me. Lisa'il wal mahroom. There are some people, they can't ask. There are some people, it's so difficult for them that they must come out and ask. We don't want people to be in that situation. It's not a pleasant situation that someone who is married, he has kids, he's working, but then the bills are so huge upon him that it's very difficult to pay those bills. Wallahi, if you have the opportunity, buy something. The Eid is coming, you can buy some dress. He has 4 kids. Buy some jalbab for those kids. Wrap it. One of the kids call him, hey Muhammad, go and give this to your father. He goes and he gives the father, open the parcel, he opens it and says, his new jalbab for his kids. You've what? You've taken off some burden on the person. Man yassara ala mu'sirin. Whoever makes things easy for someone in a tight situation, yassara Allahu alayhi fi dunya wal akhirah. The Almighty Allah is going to make things easy for you in this dunya and the akhirah. Man satara musliman. Anybody who covers up for a Muslim, satarahu Allahu fi dunya wal akhirah. The Almighty Allah is going to cover for you on the day of this dunya and then the akhirah. Wallahu fi auni al-abd. The Almighty Allah is going to come to your aid. Madam al-abdu fi auni akhihi. So long as you are in the aid of your brother. But then, the most important thing about this is, it should be between you and Almighty Allah. No show off. No riyah. No No bad words for the person. Some people, they give people gifts and then they tell the whole world, oh, forget about Uncle Lamin. His new jalbab that he wore. When I went to Makkah, I bought it for him, gave it to him. Now that he's come to the masjid and he's just, I gave it to him. No. يا الذين آمنوا لا تبطلوا صدقاتكم بالمن والأذى كالذي ينفق ماله رياء الناس. Oh, you will believe, do not destroy your sadaqah بالمن والأذى, using, the Hausa people call it gori, which is you give something to someone and you want to establish it to the person that I'm the one who did this for you, I'm the one who did this for you, I'm the one who did this for you. Don't do that. If you do that, you don't have any reward. Well, other, and then with what? With cheat. You are oppressing the person. That is why some people, when they want to give you a gift, you don't want to take it. Because if they give you a gift, it's a problem. Because the whole of Philadelphia, we know they gave you this gift. And anytime they call you to come and help them with something, and you give an excuse and say, you forgot, I gave you this, today I'm calling you, you're not coming. It's a problem when some people give you a gift. So don't do that. Poor people, help them. Help. Wallahi. You don't know what help that you're going to do that will result in what? In the goodness of what? Of the goodness that you're going to get. You don't know. That is why the Prophet Muhammad said, when you plant, when you have a farm, you get a lot of reward because passers-by will eat from it. Even the birds will get to eat from your farm. You get a reward. If you help animals, you're going to get a reward. How much more helping a human being? And this help, it is not only for Muslims. Let's understand this. It's not only for Muslims. If you have a non-Muslim neighbor who you know this guy needs help, it's part of good neighborliness that you help the person. It's part of it. The Prophet Muhammad he used to have a Jewish neighbor who always insult the Prophet Muhammad. In the morning, this Jewish neighbor, he will sweep his compound. He doesn't have a dump site unless the house of the Prophet Muhammad. The Sahaba will be furious. Ya Rasulullah, let's teach him a lesson. He said, no, leave him. One day the Prophet Muhammad woke up in the morning, there was no trash in front of his house. He was like, whoa, what happened? There's no trash today. And then he saw the son of the Jew come out of his house and he asked him, where's your father? He said, my father is sick. He said, yes, that is why there's no trash in front of my house. He told him, go and tell your father I want to come and see him. The boy entered, he told the father. This guy was sick. He was like, what? Muhammad was coming to see me? So he entered. And then he asked him, what are you doing here? He said, no, every day I come and see trash in front of my house. Today I didn't see it. And then I asked and they said, you are sick. So I've come to visit you. He said, you come to visit me? He said, of course. This is what my deen teaches me. This is what my deen teaches me. So I'm here to visit you and see how you're doing. And the Prophet told him, won't you accept Islam? He said, I don't think your God wants me. He said, no, you are the ones that we want. He said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The angel of death took his life there and then. The Prophet Muhammad came out happy. And the Sahaba were like, why are you happy? He said, this guy was destined for hellfire. But then now he's going to go to Jannah. That's why I'm happy. Not because he's dead, but because of his what? Because of his final destination. So you don't know. It's part of the ways that the Prophet Muhammad used to what? To encourage people to accept Islam. Don't forget the hadith of the Arab Bedouin who came to the Prophet Muhammad to accept Islam, and he was given a valley full of goats. The Prophet gave it to him as a gift. He went back to his village and he said, what are you doing here? Go and accept Islam. Muhammad, he gives goats as gifts. Hurry up, go. Go and accept Islam. You see, this is mine. Go and take yours. So, because giving gifts is tahadu tahabu. When you give gifts, you what? You create a kind of connection and a love between you and the person. Because when you give me a gift, I never forget you. When I see you, I want more. So I'll be nice to you. Giving of gifts is a way that the Prophet Muhammad used to what? Used to build bonds between people. So as a Muslim, learn to give gifts. Learn to give gifts. And when people give you gifts, to appreciate it. We have another problem. Some of us poor people, when my uncle, Chief, come and give me $100, I'm like, Chief, you can give me 1,000. Why are you giving me 100? No, that's not a good attitude. That's not a good attitude. You don't know what Chief is going through that he came to give you $100. You don't know the situation that he's in. And this goes to our people who are back home. When someone is there and then they send you $50, wallahi, be appreciative. It's not easy. Nah, he's in America and then he's giving you only $50. Come and work here and see how it is. Come here and see how it is. When your house bill, your rent is $1,500, that is your rent for the whole year in Africa. This is what some people pay in a month here. And then they go through the heat, the coldness of winter, and then they go through the heat of the summer, and then they go and work 16 hours a day job, and then they at least remember you. And then they send you $50, you are like, what am I going to do with $50? Me, if I know of it, I won't send you anything again. That's just by the way. All that is, be appreciative of people when they give you out of their widow's mite. Don't think that because the person is driving a Mercedes or the person is driving a Ford Ram, like one of my uncles is here, is riding and driving, the car. I think you take the car to lunch every day because the car is very huge. May Almighty Allah bless you with more and safeguard you and protect you. Amen. The fact that you see someone, ride some of these cars and leave these homes, it's not that they are sleeping on Benjamins, as you say. No. They have bills to pay. So if someone comes and gives you $100, well, I appreciate it. Pray for the person. That the Almighty Allah gives him more. And you to the Almighty Allah gives you. So those of us who are poor and the people give our gifts, well, let's not underestimate the gift. Let's pray for the person. Let's not expect more than that from the person. At least amongst all the people that the person knows, he chose to give it to me. Wallahi. He chose to give it to me. It means he remembers me. It means he loves me. It means he considers me as someone. He chose me. He could have given it to anybody else, but then he decides to give it to me. So it's a two-way thing. Those of us who are well-to-do and they are giving out to people, give it sincerely between you and the Almighty Allah. Give it in a way that you're not going to look down upon the person or degrade the person and or have a derogatory look at the person. And those of us who are receiving too, let's be grateful. Let's be appreciative. And let's pray for the person. This is only the first half of the surah. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll look at the second part of the surah. May Almighty Allah safeguard us. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum. We'll take a couple of questions, inshallah.